pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Jonathan Ramsey,
Here.
Marianne Rosa,
Here.
Ken Demers,
Here.
Robert DeCina,
Here.
Anthony DeBona, Gary Lafferty, Robert Ritalik,
Here.
Denise Russ, Rachel Ryan.
Here. Here.
Thank you. Public comment. Anyone like to address the town council? Please come forward and state your name and address.
Catherine Kamara, 31 Cottage Place. I have something to hand out before I get started. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's for one of my later comments. So I would have attended the last meeting in June. I had planned to. It was, I believe, Monday, the 22nd. When I went online to look at the agenda, it said there was a cancellation notice. That's all there was. So on the Friday, when somebody told me about the meeting, on Wednesday, I was like, what are you talking about? So apparently, instead of calling it a regular meeting, it was then called a special meeting. I felt deceived by my government, because the notice should have said postponed, special meeting, something. It just said canceled. Made it look like the next meeting would have been this one. So I just want you to know, I feel very deceived by my government when they don't post appropriately and tell us exactly what's going on. I think that's what your job is. I see you have a lot of appropriations on the agenda to vote for tonight for having a public hearing, and I would like to say that if you're going to have a public hearing set, I hope that we will know exactly what those amounts of money are going to be used for. I know you have them in a lump sum for your vote tonight, but for a public hearing, I would like to hope that the public will know exactly what those funds are going to be used for, sort of like line items. Now I'll talk to you about the picture that I gave you, or the copy of a picture. I'm sorry, it's not the greatest, but it was the best I could do, kind of short period of time. So that truck, good old boy's truck with all the flags on it, was parked on our public sidewalk down in Oakville on 4th of July. They had another one in Memorial Day, Memorial Day, with a different flag. My question is, who on behalf of the town would have given them permission to park this truck on our sidewalk? First of all, you can't park on a sidewalk, so I'm not sure why they weren't ticketed. Second of all, it's free advertisement for good old boys. Thirdly, and I have asked for any contract with them, but I haven't received anything yet. What happens if some woman is walking by with a stroller with her baby in it, and one of those flags falls off and hits the child and it needs stitches? Who's responsible? Good old boys or the town of Watertown? We're allowing it to be parked on our sidewalk. Don't have a problem with it all day long, advertising there. I don't think any consideration was given to this. I don't know if we're taking bids. Is another company going to come along and say, hey, I want to park my truck with a bunch of flags on it and advertise all day long on a holiday on the public property? I will continue to ask. I'm looking for the answer to how that was allowed all day on our holidays. And I'm not getting any answers yet, but I will continue to ask for them, and I expect to get one from somebody. Next, I want to ask you about, or tell you about, Bear with me just a second. Oh, sorry, here we go. So on our town website, we have employment opportunities. And I really would like to know exactly what our assistant tax collector does, because I'm flabbergasted by this job notification, that while performing the essential functions of this job, the employee is frequently required, among other things, to climb or balance, stoop, kneel, crouch, and crawl. Frequently. What is our assistant tax collector doing? Because I'd really like to see that. They're crawling, they're balancing, they're climbing, and these are things that they're going to have to be able to do. It's physical demands. They've got physical demands. This sounds like the deputy police chief position doesn't have these physical demands. It's shocking to me. I'm not sure if something got mixed up. But equally as shocking is that we have an equal opportunity statement that says that the policy of the town of Watertown is to provide equal opportunity employment to persons regardless of physical or mental disability. Well, I think we're begging for a lawsuit here. Do you think a person in a wheelchair reads this and sees these physical demands, think that they're going to have any chance whatsoever of applying for this job? And do you seriously think that we're being an equal opportunity employer when we want people to crawl as an assistant tax collector? What's even more surprising is there's another job posting for the same department. It's bookkeeper 1. Bookkeeper 1 doesn't have to climb, balance, I don't know, stand on their head, I don't know, do a jig, all this stuff. And they also don't have an equal opportunity statement for that job. I would think that all positions, if we're going to have a statement like that, why aren't they included in all of the positions on there? But I seriously think that this is a very big problem, and you should really look into what that is advertising, because it's not good. And lastly, I just want to say another problem we have in town is you should take a little ride over Sperry Road and the intersection of Sperry Road and Lake Winnemog Road. I've been taking a different route to the dump the past couple of weeks, and I had my nephew with me 2 weeks ago. We almost got in an accident. He's only lived in town about 4 years. We were coming on Sperry Road. We stopped. Car was coming up from Winnemog, a truck, actually, and my nephew started to proceed. When I looked and the truck wasn't stopping, and I was like, whoa, what's the deal? And then we realized there's a stop sign, but it's got a black bag over it. There's a white line for the stop. Our stop said, always stop, as do 2 signs, say always stop. I went down, I took some pictures, I drove down, well, I went again, forgot about it last week, but went to the dump again Saturday, and it's the same thing. And then my sister says, oh yeah, it's been like that for a while. So I called the police department. I thought somebody put a bag over the sign. And the dispatcher says, oh yeah, that's been on Facebook. People have been talking about that. For how long? Apparently, people have to get used to this being there before the bag's going to come off. I've never heard of that before. And then she said, until they put the white lines. The white lines are there. The other signs say, always stop. There's also a sign as you're approaching the one with the bag on it that tells you that you're approaching a stop sign. So I don't know when the training wheels are going to come off, but if they don't come off soon, we're going to have an accident there, and I think you're going to have a problem there too. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mary Ann?
Al Mickle, 95 Woodbine Avenue. Mr. Chairman, members of the Town Council, thank you for letting me speak. I'd like to start with my usual request. Excuse me. I'm still looking for public participation. On the agenda tonight, there's 3 huge bonding requests. And in the future, there are more bonding requests coming up. Okay, the bonding for the required police station, the bonding for the needed senior center, and the wanted community center. These are important things that should be able to be discussed with the town council in an ongoing process. Having the public meeting at the end of this process is too late to effect any change. So I would suggest you find a way to participate in the discussion of these 3 major items. If it's not in the town council, it can't be held off until the final vote, the final public hearing, okay, when it's almost too late to change the mind. So I would consider adding some sort of public participation for these 3 bonding packages besides the meeting that's required. Now, we have a new FOI request form. I tried it out. It seemed to work. There are some things that need enhancing. Number 1 is if you have a job, you can't come into town hall and review any of the documentation. Town hall's closed. So for people with normal jobs to be able to review the town documents, you can't do it. Maybe that can be adjusted somehow. The form is available online, but we seniors might not have enough computers or emails to avail ourselves of that facility. So maybe some method for getting those types of inputs from senior citizens that are not computer literate, the ability to get information from the town. Okay, now, I sent a letter because we don't participate together. I sent a letter to the town council, the town manager, and the finance director. 3 simple questions. I don't have the answer to them yet, okay? Just to remind you, who sets the current debt limit? Currently, it's about $7,200,000. Who can change it? I imagine you guys can change it, but I don't know. And what will happen when the debt limit is exceeded? So those are the 3 questions I'm looking for answers. I read the audit report. In the audit report, it says the bond limit can be 2.5 times the base. I have no friggin' idea what the base is, so maybe I'll find out. And 2.5 times the base is a lot of money. Okay, now easy stuff. The plan that for the draft plan. This beautiful piece of document here. Looks like somebody did their homework to figure out how to get there in the right time, in the right place. But it's the little things that always catch my eye. It talks, at the end of it, there are 2 different paths. I don't know what the 2 different paths were. It doesn't say in here. So I was just curious. I imagine we'll take the one that has the least amount of time because we're slow. And the last thing, which I haven't thought about since town council was meeting in the library at the Trumbull School, it was a few years ago. They talked about a non-meeting then. I thought that was a ridiculous name for a meeting. As it turns out, okay, the FOI calls those non-public meetings, which makes a lot more sense than a non-meeting. You might want to consider use that when you go into your non-public meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Al. Anyone else?
Good evening. Well, I wasn't going to come up and speak tonight, but can't help myself. I saw the good old boys truck parked down on the sidewalk in Oakville with all the American flags on it. As a U.S. Navy veteran, I was very proud to see that. I thought it was great to have the American flag displayed there on the 4th of July. As for the young lady that came up here that's complaining about it, my advice to you is don't pay any attention to her, because nobody else does. And if you did give them permission, kudos to you.
Mary Ann?
For the record, my name is Mary Ann Rosa. I was told by an attorney years ago if I am a public official and I wish to speak as a resident, that I should not speak from my public official seat. So that's why I'm out here. My comments tonight are to commend Chief Bromley and the responding EMS members of our town that came to my home recently when we had an emergency. The chief's presence, his attitude, his abilities, and how he handled the situation put myself and my son very much at ease. And when you're dealing with a heart condition, that's a very important thing. It wasn't the first time they've come, and because it seems to be an ongoing thing, I really felt the need to say thank you very much for your prompt response and your concern and your caring for my family and for those other residents in town. I know they've been busy, but they still seem to be there whenever we need them, and I want it to be on record. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to, only if it's a comment toward the town council and not another member of the public?
Excuse me?
Keep your comments to the town council.
Yes, I will. Okay, I would like to apologize to everyone on the town council and anyone in the audience who feels I offended them by what the comment I made. I have nothing against any service members, anybody who does, what we celebrate on July 4th, what we celebrate on Memorial Day. That was not my point. And I'm sorry if I came up with something happening to somebody getting hurt and I used the flag falling. I'm very sorry for that. I'm sorry anybody was insulted. That was absolutely not my intention. The point I was trying to make is that we were allowing a business's truck to be parked on our sidewalk. There's liability there. We need to consider the liability. We need to consider, it's advertising, let's face it. And I think it's great that they did it. And my first impulse on Memorial Day was, wow, that's really nice. That's great of those guys. But the second time around, I said, wait a minute, there's a bigger issue here. And so it could also be a child climbing up on the truck. It's a cool truck. It's on the public property, and they could fall from that. And there would be a question of liability. That's what I'm talking about here. I'm not trying to disrespect anyone. And I did realize I forgot something else I wanted to mention. So I FOI'd information because I've had an issue about the whole deputy chief job, why it's taking 18 months, why we've paid for it for a year, why we're finding out it's just being posted. And I got some documents, and one of them I thought was interesting, that our town manager is advising our chief of police who's going to be part of the interview process. I believe that's the job of the chief of the police, not the job of the town manager. Seems a little weird to me, and I think maybe somebody might want to understand why our town manager would be having anything to do with setting that up. Of course, he'll probably address that in his comments maybe, but I thought it was odd because I do believe the last time around when we were hiring a deputy chief, it was Chief Gavalis who then reached out to the Chiefs Association. So it was just odd in the documents that I saw. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the town council? Seeing none, public comment is now closed.
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of June 22nd, 2022.
Second.
Any discussion, comments? And just for the record, that's a special meeting on June 22nd. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Chairman's report, I have nothing to report at this time. Town manager?
Thank you, Chairman.
Microphone.
Questions regarding
We're good now? Mr. Chairman, are there any questions I could answer regarding the topics that were brought up for public participation?
I have none.
Okay. Just for the record, I'd like to state that Catherine Cameron has not been in any meetings that I've had with the deputy chief, and by reviewing some limited emails that she has received, I think her statements are inaccurate, and I assure you she's not been involved in any meetings that I've had with any of the staff, just so everybody's aware. I think I'll hold most of my comments as we go through the agenda. There's most of the topics that we're currently working on are on the agenda.
Thank you. Now we got our new business. Oh yeah, sorry, subcommittees, anyone? Seeing none, we'll move on. 9 for new business. For the following 3 sets of motions, unless there's any objections regarding the full reading of the resolutions, I would like to waive the full reading of each. Copies will be available on the town website as well as from the council clerk, Sue King.
I make a motion that the town council authorize the resolution setting a public hearing on Tuesday, August 30th, 2022, at 6:30 p.m. at the Watertown Town Hall in the town council chambers on the following proposed bond ordinance, which is hereby introduced. An ordinance appropriating $1,500,000 for the acquisition of a fire truck and related equipment, and authorizing the issue of bonds or notes and temporary notes in the same amount to finance the appropriation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion or questions related to this ordinance? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I make a motion that the town council authorize the resolution setting a public hearing on Tuesday, August 30th, 2022, at 7 p.m. at Watertown Town Hall in the town council chambers on the following proposed bond ordinance, which is hereby introduced. An ordinance appropriating $5 million for various road improvements and related work, and authorizing the issue of bonds or notes and temporary notes in the same amount to finance the appropriation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on this? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move that the project that is the subject of the ordinance referred to and be referred to the Planning and Zoning Commission for its review pursuant to Section 8-24 of the General Statutes, State of Connecticut Revision of 1958, as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? And just for the record, this is referring to the previous motion that we had for the $5 million for various road improvements. Seeing no other discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I make a motion that the town council authorize the resolution setting a public hearing on Tuesday, August 30th, 2022, at 7:30 p.m. at Watertown Town Hall in the town council chambers on the following proposed bond ordinance, which is hereby introduced. An ordinance appropriating $11 million for various school capital improvements and authorizing the issue of bonds or notes and temporary notes in the same amount to finance the appropriation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? And you'll notice in the resolution itself, it lists out what those various projects are. I think there's 12 of them, if I recall. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I further move that the project that is the subject of the ordinance be referred to the Planning and Zoning Commission for its review pursuant to Section 8-24 of the General Statutes of the State of Connecticut, revision of 1958 as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing a bid waiver for the purchase and use of various equipment, materials, and supplies to be furnished to the town of Watertown that have been formally bid by the State of Connecticut Department of Administrative Services.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Mark, do you just want to give a quick summary of why we do this each year?
So annually, you'll approve us to piggyback onto the state's bidding process. The state would go through the actual bidding process, and this just gives us the authority to choose it. As an example, if we were to go through the state bid and take a paving management company, we would just be able to take it right off the bid site instead of going out to bid ourselves. It saves us some time and money.
Any questions, discussion?
Sounds good.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move to authorize the following for the use of ARPA funds which have been approved in the fiscal year 2022-2023 budget. Munson House water line, $70,000. Dog pound improvements, $27,500. Vehicle iPads, $3,000. Canopy truck wash area, $35,000. Construction equipment replacement, $70,000. Sander multi-hog, $5,000. Oakville Green sound system upgrades, $7,000. Transportation vehicle replacement fund, $150,000. Business facade improvements, $15,000. Advanced services, $10,000. Paving, $25,000. RSA traffic study, $9,500. Pavement management analysis, $55,000. Communication equipment maintenance, $42,000. And other equipment maintenance, $15,000, for a total of $539,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Just as a reminder, when we were going through the budget process, we pulled out $500,000 at one of the earlier meetings, and this was the list of improvements or items that will be used for from the ARPA funds.
Works.
Any further discussion? Questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move that $400,000 be approved for the use of ARPA funds for safety improvements at Woodruff Avenue and Main Street.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mark, you want to give a little summary on that one?
So basically, just as a reminder, we have a steep grant that's out there in the amount of $128,000 with a 50% match by the town. So we have a line item with $256,000 in it. We've had some design and work done already from that line item to improve the safety on Main Street. That, just as a reminder, it was the traffic head at Woodruff Avenue and then the rapid flashing beacons, which were along Main Street. This $400,000 would be looking at creating a safe space by St. John's Church. In the original steep grant, the
Church or school?
I'm sorry, the school. Thank you. On the original steep grant, we had talked about trying to squeeze in a 36-inch sidewalk alongside that Main Street wall. After discussion with the engineers, we thought it'd be better to move that wall back to really create a safe space. We had a lot of students that walk from Taft down to the Starbucks area, and now that St. John's and St. Mary Magdalene schools have merged, we're going to have the more senior kids in the St. John's school. So we anticipate we'll have more walking traffic in that area. So in order to improve the safety in that corridor, it would be in our best interest to move that wall back. It would also change the aesthetics of that area, and as you enter into the Main Street corridor. So the $400,000 would be for design and reconstruction of the moving of that wall, and then obviously the rebuilding of it, which would coincide with all the improvements that we're trying to make on the main street.
And I just want to mention that there was a nice presentation, I forgot, done by
SLR.
SLR,
Anthony.
related to all the Main Street improvements, and this is one of them that they talked about at that meeting.
We're going to do this, this project before the full Main Street project that was presented to everybody at the open meeting. This is a separate project. It's not going to be done at the same time that the Main Street project, if it goes through.
It's one of the first stages.
Okay,
It would-
but it's not going to, once that's done, it's not going to have to be touched again? Because we have a tendency, when they put roads down, they like to drill and, so I just want to know if, when this is done, it won't be touched or don't have to be dug up or anything.
I'm not an engineer, so I'm not going to commit to that, but the intent is to do this one time and do it correctly. I can't imagine, we would check with Eversource and all the other power companies that may have work in that area to ensure that they're not going to have to do any changes. As far as the town is concerned, we would do our best to ensure that we do not have to do any rework into that area. You know, it would be nice if all our grants came through and we knew that we were going to be getting that money, but without that assurance, we need to continue to make good on the original STEEP grant because it'll expire next spring. So it's important for us to get that wall moved and the sidewalks installed so we can continue to move forward with the other STEEP grant. So it's kind of contingent. We'll still have to ask for an extension on the STEEP grant because I don't think we'll be able to get it all done. But because we're going to commit this money, or if you choose to commit this money, it better ensures that we'll get that extension for the original STEEP grant.
Okay, just, and I know you probably can't answer this one either, but I know the Main Street, it was going to widen Woodruff Avenue somehow. So we're just talking about the stone wall and putting sidewalks by the gas station, starting at the gas station and going down. So if we do widen Woodruff Avenue, that's going to be widened from the other side? I know you can't answer it, but I'm just worried we're going to do this and they're going to say, I'm sorry, we have to move it or dig it up and re-put it down.
I didn't get that from, as we started to talk about this project, I don't ever recall us talking about widening Woodruff. That doesn't ring a bell with me. I'm not saying we didn't, that wasn't said. But from my understanding, it's a very challenging intersection because there are other, you know, there is Eversource, there is electricity, there are some crosswalks there. It's a challenging area, and that's why the cost is up around $400,000 to get this done. But I've been told that we can get the project done and still make that area as safe as could be for the children that need to walk down that roadway.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And through the chair, I believe that was Hemingway Court that they wanted to widen, the one that goes up by the church, turning into Walgreens. That's the one they were talking about.
Oh, that's a
with the,
different, yeah.
with the priest that came in here saying he would give up some land to do that.
I do remember that conversation, and that's the road that runs between Walgreens and the church. That's Hemingway Court. And Father Anthony did ask if we would consider taking ownership of that road and widening it. Again, I don't recall the Woodruff, but I don't remember everything. I try, though.
Anyone else?
Through the chair, Mark, there's two other properties that are on Main Street between St. John's and Starbucks. The sidewalks will extend all the way over to Starbucks.
That's correct. It'll be in the state right-of-way, so the wall's actually in the state right-of-way. We're going to work with St. John's to ensure that they support this project because it is going to affect the aesthetics of their property. But we do have the authority to make the project happen even without their agreement. But it is our intent to work with them.
Any other discussion? Oh, sorry.
It isn't St. John's I was concerned about. There's two other pieces of property to the left, if you're
Yes.
looking. Okay,
It would include extending the sidewalk right down to
Right.
Starbucks.
right. Thank you.
Anyone else? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move to authorize the resolution in support of an application under the State of Connecticut Small Town Economic Assistance Program for a proposed project for Main Street safety improvements, specifically parking improvements, safety enhancements, and sidewalks for Hemingway Park Road.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mark, would you like to summarize again?
Yes. So Hemingway Park Road project is actually making that road one-way. We had a meeting a couple weeks ago and discussed the whole project. By making that one-way, at least a partial of the way, we could get about 32 slanted parking spots into that roadway. We would also work on doing a bump out right on the main street, and that would be kind of starting the work at the other end of the project in the Main Street corridor safety improvements. So in doing that, we would re-mill and pave that whole road, restripe everything, and work to get sidewalks, hopefully the whole way, or as far as we can alongside that main street. It would improve parking and safety for the Main Street businesses that are up there, and hopefully it would encourage those Main Street businesses that have been closed to work on opening it, because we're working on improving the parking and safety up there for them.
Through the chair. My opinion would be that would be beneficial for the community. It would allow the public to have access to and from the town hall here, the town hall center, and it's beneficial. That was the original intention of the Main Street study, the survey.
Just to give you a little, I didn't really touch base on the grant process. So the STEEP grant is a it's actually, there is no match for us. We could apply without the match. In the instructions for the STEEP grant this year, they're basically advising us that for us to better hedge our access to the money, that we commit 20% to the grant. So the grant is up to $500,000. We did split the opportunity here. We're going after $300,000 for the actual Hemingway Park Road project, which we would have a $50,000 match, or $60,000 would be the match. And then we have the second one that we'll talk about next. So our chances are good. We have a design already in place for this Hemingway Park Road, so that puts us ahead. It kind of leads us to a shovel-ready project, so it would put us at the head for receiving some of the monies for this. And you will have another opportunity to make a decision as we move forward on this. Tonight's just authorizing me to apply for the grant.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move that the town council set a special town meeting for August 8, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. in the town council chambers to consider the town's portion of $60,000 for the grant.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions, comments? What's that? Gary, how you doing?
Can you hear me?
We could hear you.
Okay. No, I had my hand raised for the Hemingway Street part. I was up in West Hartford last week there, and they have a couple of streets that are, set up the way we're thinking about setting it up, and it's very hard to when you have to back out of those spaces. So I just didn't know if that's something they want to check out and look into. And then on I think on the paperwork we had tonight too, that it shows that the library has public parking, and I thought that they said that wasn't public place to park vehicles.
What document are you referring to?
I just wanted to check on that.
So at
What's
at the Main Street meeting, Tony Ciriello had discussed that maybe the library offered public parking. The library owns their own building. It is not public parking. They could offer it to us, but we cannot just allow the public to park up at the library parking lot. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Well, yeah, it just, because in the diagrams and the handouts you had, one of the numbers said that it's going to show public parking coming from both directions on Main Street going into the library. There, I forgot what number it was on the sign, there's 5 or 6 or something like that. I mean, we don't have to worry about it now, you can check it out later. That was the only question I had on it.
Was it the town council packet, or was it specifically related to that presentation?
I think it was related to that presentation. It's in the colored photo with all the,
It's attached to the resolution. It was it was the original concept that was created by Malone and McBroom when the Road Safety Committee was put together. And items
Okay.
number 5 and 6 look at the flush corner bump outs and the, 7. So I think that was just a misstatement back then. You know, Tony was the engineer that was on the road safety audit. He assumed, I'm going to assume that he assumed back then that there was public parking in the library, and he's since been corrected. It is not public parking at the library. So we're aware of that, Mr. Lafferty.
okay, no problem. Thank you.
Turn your mic on.
To
Microphone.
help my brother,
Microphone.
through the chair, to help my brother counsel in on this one, I do recall that both of these questions were brought up at previous council meetings, the last council meeting about the library not being considered public property for parking, and also about the approval was discussed about the parking situation. Merchants were there from the meat center, whatever that's called now, the plaza there, and that parking, 32 spots, I believe, that would also aid in the parking situation here for the town hall center. People would be able to park on Hemingway Park Road, walk here, walk back to their cars, and of course, if somebody's backing out onto a road with much traffic, the idea is not to have much traffic on this road. It's like a road for vehicles, but also for pedestrians. Thank you.
Anyone else? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move to authorize the resolution in support of an application under the State of Connecticut Small Town Economic Assistance Program to assist in the purchase of emergency notification solutions for school phone and paging intercom systems for use in the event of an active shooter, lockdown, or emergency.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mark, you want to do the honors?
Yes. So obviously, everybody's in tune to active shooters and what towns and cities can do to mitigate risk. There's no way that we could get rid of and make this a zero-risk issue. But I think by hedging our, what we can do, by investing some money and also investing in our staff members, by doing training, reviewing our policies, we can mitigate some of the risk when it comes to emergency situations at our school system. So back a month or two ago, we had a meeting, an all-hazards meeting, and we discussed some of the things that we could do over this summer to increase the safety for our students in our schools. A presentation was had by Eastern Datacom, and they brought to us a system that mirrors our fire alarm type system for active shooters or any type of emergency process. They would bring in additional signs alerting students. It would be a one-stop shop. A teacher can press the button and they would alert all faculty and staff through different media like texting, computer messaging. The police department would be notified through individual messaging regarding the incident that's occurring. We would also increase our speaker systems in the schools so that there aren't any dead spots where students or staff would not be aware of what was going on. They would also do some paging systems, and there are some camera solutions that can go along with this project. We did get some prices, and I don't want to speak for Mr. Velarde. He did a lot of work on this, but the camera system is, at this point, it's not in the realm for us to afford to do that. We're talking somewhere between $270,000 and $360,000 to just do the high school. So it would be my recommendation that we go after the other half of this STEEP grant, and we use these monies to increase this alert system that would give us a better chance of alerting all staff and students, and then we would rely on our training as we move through the summer, dealing with the police department and then working with the school staff as we start to get back into the school system in the near future. So again, we're looking at a $300,000 grant application with a 20% match to put us in the right place. This grant would also include, I would want to include St. John's School and St. Mary Magdalene to get a minimum system. So I think we could do that for the money that is accessible to us. It's a great way for us to mitigate some risk.
Any questions, discussion?
Just thinking. Are we going to be using the company that was in our packet, or is this going to go out to bid?
At some point, we're probably going to have to go out to bid. So I had spoken to the Board of Education today about that this is a starting point for us. They did try to contact other companies that do the same type of business, and they did not get any response. But I think to be responsible, we should go out to bid to make sure that this is the right system. Eastern Datacom uses Mitel phone systems, which is the same phone system that we already have installed in the town hall and all the school systems, so it integrates very well with what's already installed. So I think that'll play a big part as we do try to figure out. But I just want to get the grant process started so that we don't miss the deadline. We have a August 15th deadline when the grant will close.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? If approved tonight, how long is the grant process, and if everything's perfect and we get the grant, what type of time frame do you think we'd have it installed? Or at least get bids to?
So the grant process closes August 15th. I believe the awards will be made public on September 15th. I don't know what the process time is. I would say if the superintendent were to want to have this installed while school's in session, we would probably have it this school year. If not, I would say it would be easy for us to get this done over the next summer.
Thank you. Anyone else? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I further move that the town council set a special town meeting for Monday, August 8, 2022 at 6:45 p.m. in the town council chambers to consider the town's portion of $60,000 for said grant.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
I move that the following be authorized for the use of FEMA Emergency Management Performance Grant funding for emergency management and preparedness activities. The application for 50% reimbursement for the following: Emergency Management Director, a stipend of $12,500. Emergency Management Deputy Director, a stipend of $2,000. Disaster Recovery Manager, a stipend of $7,500. Job descriptions are provided under the program.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mark, you want to add anything to this, or?
Sure. So this is in response to Councilmember Retalic's request to look into this RMPG grant. So the grant has been out there for a while. Watertown has taken part in that. At the current time, we utilize only $7,000 of the grant. We're eligible up to $22,000. So after we started looking at the grant responsibilities and the stipend that was given to the emergency management director, which is Dave Bromley, our fire chief, I looked into some of the other responsibilities that are being had. We have an emergency management director deputy who is not being compensated in any way. And the people who are on this grant are responsible to be available 24/7 and respond to any disaster. So as we were looking at the responsibilities of these positions, it occurred that we probably should have somebody who is going to take part of and follow up on our paperwork. And that's how we came to the decision to open this up to an additional position, which would be the disaster recovery manager. Most of our monies that we recoup from FEMA during natural disasters comes through our Public Works Department. So Mr. Spina was the opportune candidate to take this position over, and I thought it'd only be fair to give him some of the stipend. So what I'm requesting is that we take full advantage of the $22,000 grant. It's a 50% match by the town, so there is a small increase for us to absorb this. As the motion says, $12,500, an increase from $7,000 for the emergency management director, a $2,000 stipend to the deputy fire chief, and then a $7,500 stipend to Mr. Spina as the disaster recovery manager. In doing that, I would ask that all the members get their emergency command training, the ICS trainings, so that they're all up to par on their training. We would formalize the job descriptions by taking that from FEMA, and then I would ask that we do 2 trainings per year. We've already done 1 training with the state, which is part of the obligation of being in this grant program. I would ask that those individuals do an additional training to ensure that we're doing what we're supposed to do and ready to handle whatever comes forward.
Thank you. Any discussion, questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstentions, motion passes.
I move to approve a bid waiver for road rehabilitation services for fiscal year 2022-2023 to be provided by Cochiola Paving.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstentions, motion passes.
I make a motion to approve the resolution authorizing tax refunds.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstentions, motion passes. We'll take a break for our non-meeting, or non-public meeting, as Al would say, to discuss contract negotiations.
Recording stopped.